Right now on the National Weather Desk, freeze warning. Just a day before the start of spring, the cold weather could threaten crops. Meantime, the cleanup continues days after tornadoes and severe weather damaged homes in multiple states.
It's an unfortunate situation.
That volcano in Iceland is erupting again, where the lava is flowing this morning. DC's cherry blossoms are at peak bloom, and it's happening in near record fashion.
We're seeing the cherry blossoms bloom earlier and earlier.
And with flowers comes pollen, and of course, those dreaded spring allergies.
Approximately 40 to 60% of patients at that time will have a complaint of allergy-related illness.
Plus, the countdown continues to April's total solar eclipse.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
And a very good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Brian Vandegraff. Well, spring may be just one day away, but in many places it's going to feel a little bit more winter-like this week. That's especially true in the south, where freeze warnings are posted for overnight tonight. Temperatures in many places will dip into the 20s, and that means outdoor plants need to be brought inside or covered. Farmers will also have to watch their crops to make sure the freeze doesn't kill them. Ohio Governor DeWine declared a state of emergency in 11 counties. This comes as the National Weather Service says at least 8 tornadoes touched down in the state on Thursday night. The National Guard will be moving in to help those who lost nearly everything. Now, businesses and owners across Logan County, the area hit the hardest, are showing up for neighbors, bringing strength. A furniture store owner is one example of that. He's delivering new mattresses to families for free.
Heartbroken to hear, to see what's happened to them and to their homes and to their families. So, we're there for them however we can help.
Another business owner is also turning his business into a donation drop-off center. He says he'll be providing supplies for as long as it takes to help get families back on their feet. That same storm system also brought severe weather to Arkansas. And while there wasn't a tornado, flooding damaged homes and cars near Little Rock. Kayla Christian has more.
Windsor Park townhomes were left without transportation after the flooding, and some without a home.
I actually would have never known about the flood if it wasn't for this guy right over here. He was roaring his motorcycle. I guess he was trying to get it out of the water, but he roared it a little too much. So I was like, let me check it and see what's going on outside. And I looked out the window and I saw water pretty much kind of a little over my tire.
Kendra Seward was displaced after she and her children had to be rescued by Maumelle first responders during the flood.
My dad actually came here to get me and my 2 kids, but as he was walking through, the water kind of got to his waist, and he was like, I'm not able to come get you. He was like, they're going to have to come get you on the boat. It was warming to know that, we had some people out here that were willing to come out here during that time to come help us.
Rows of damaged cars and 28 Windsor Park units undergoing home repair.
It's unexpected, especially financially for several. They're having to maintenance people's houses. It's just it's an unfortunate situation.
Law enforcement, tree removal, and cleanup services have been on site, as well as Red Cross, Metro, and Salvation Army, still with lots of work to be done.
Lava is once again flowing out of that volcano in Iceland. It erupted on Saturday for the 4th time since December. Authorities had just 15 minutes of warning before the eruption began. The famed Blue Lagoon was immediately evacuated. The lava is still flowing steadily this morning. The good news is that officials say infrastructure in a nearby fishing town are safe for now. Man-made barriers are steering the lava away from critical places.
No risk of any ash cloud or gas going in a far distance from the area. So we're just talking about a few kilometers that would be closed even more down because of this risk.
The latest eruption is believed to be the biggest of the 7 that have occurred here since back in 2021. In Pennsylvania, officials are warning that a dry and warm winter season has led to a major increase in wildfire danger. Zachary Kay has more.
So far, the only burn ban in our area is in Logan Township in Blair County. Van Winter is the fire chief at Bollesburg Fire Company and says that the dry conditions from the winter make it easy for fires to spread quickly.
crops in the wintertime that are dead, cornfields that have been down. They're not replanted. Everything's dead right there. They're going to burn quickly. They're going to burn fast. As things green up, that moisture content in that alone will help slow down the spread of the fire.
He says that the idea behind putting a burn ban in place is to protect people and the land around them.
By putting them on, it means the weather and the property and the ground and everything is all dictative that fire will spread quickly due to winds, the dry conditions. So you want to try to restrict as much burning as possible.
Winter says that he has seen small burns turn into massive wildfires before, and that these bans help eliminate the possibility of someone starting a fire that could become very dangerous.
98% of the wildfires are all due to humans. They cause the problems, most of that because of the actions. Inadvertently, not intentional, but that's where the wildfires generate.
Winter encourages people to contact their local fire company before they burn something to make sure the conditions are safe.
A new University of Oregon study says wildfire smoke warnings need to be issued sooner. It says agencies often don't warn people about poor air quality until it's already swept in. The study found that more than half of the wildfire-related social media posts from institutional accounts in 2022 were posted during peak smoke levels. The researchers then made a list of suggestions to consider going forward. Those include sharing the severity, risk, and likelihood of a hazard, sharing numeric information and air quality index levels, engaging with the community, and discussing wildfire and smoke risk during off-season. We turn to Texas, where the city of Belleville near Houston was slammed with some severe weather on Friday. It caused quite a bit of extensive damage on the city's south side. They were pelted by hail and heavy storms that damaged power lines, leading to power outages. This drone footage from the Austin County Sheriff's Office shows dozens of homes and other buildings with damaged roofs, scattered debris, and massive flooding all across the area. There's been some pretty impressive and record-setting warmth in the Pacific Northwest, but how long will it last? Theron Zahn explains.
Of high pressure is creating some pretty remarkable temperatures in the Northwest. Portland and Seattle for the last few days have felt temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s. And out on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State, Quileute reached 80 degrees for the first time ever on record for a day in March. A couple more days of the warm weather before a cool down comes on Wednesday.
Washington, D.C.'s famed cherry blossoms have reached peak bloom. The National Park Service made that announcement yesterday. Peak bloom means 70% of the Oshino cherry trees that surround the tidal basin are open and will stay that way for several days. Warmer temperatures helped trigger that early bloom. The district had one of its warmest winters on record. Meteorologist Eileen Whalen has more.
This is the second earliest on record. The earliest peak bloom was March 15th back in 1990, but definitely a sign that as our climate is warming and those temperatures are increasing, we're seeing the cherry blossoms bloom earlier and earlier. So here are the factors that do impact peak bloom. Again, those cooler temperatures do help to prolong the peak bloom process. Now, blossom damage can occur when those temperatures drop below 27 degrees, which we do not have to worry about that, especially here in D.C. And then heavy rain and high winds can bring down the blossoms. We are going to be in for a pretty windy week at times, so you might notice a few of those petals falling. But I will say these are really hardy blossoms, so I think that they'll be doing just fine.
And spring arrives tomorrow night, believe that or not, at 11 p.m. Eastern. The spring equinox marks the arrival of the season in the Northern Hemisphere. The Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere will receive just about the same amount of sunlight, although the meteorological spring is already underway. The arrival of the spring equinox normally falls between March 29th and the 21st, depending on the year. Well, NASA and Google Earth are teaming up in an effort to save endangered tigers in the wild. They are working together to create a new real-time monitoring system for tiger habitats. It's called Tiger Conservation Landscapes. The mapping system provides countries with tiger populations the information they need to identify priority and monitor changes in their habitat and populations. And if you're looking for more great weather content, you always have to check out our social media accounts. You can find us on all of your favorite platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll take a unique look at the way officials in South Carolina hope to increase shorebird populations. Plus, tips to help you avoid the worst of those spring allergies. Zoom tight.
I'm meteorologist Ryan Munn with a look at the Northeast as we head through the nighttime tonight and into the day on Monday. Not too bad. We are going to see some snow showers up towards parts of the north and mountains over towards areas like northern Maine, over into western New York as well. And then overall, most areas, especially in the southern New England region, going to stay dry and some snow showers off towards New York for the day on Tuesday. High temperatures running in the 40s to lower 50s.
I'm meteorologist Vetus Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. It looks like we're seeing temperatures at 56 degrees Atlanta, 47 Nashville, 54 in Birmingham, 71 Jacksonville. A little warmer as you go down to the south. 78 Tampa. We could see temperatures up to about 80 to 90 degrees, upper 80s, low 90s. So it looks like a hot one for today, but it looks like we're going to continue to see a cold front push through and drop temperatures down across parts of the southeast. Once the front pushes through, looks like we're going to see more clearing across the southeast with high pressure building in.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, in Utah, there are concerns about flooding in the Salt Lake City area because reservoirs are full. Controlled water releases are underway in anticipation of a strong spring runoff, but that has residents along the Jordan River worried. Ariel Harrison has more.
People living along the Jordan River in Salt Lake County are on edge as water continues to be released from Utah Lake. The river, as you can see, is flowing fast and spilling out of its banks in mid-March, with the flood threat imminent.
Why didn't they start doing this months ago when they could have done it at a slower rate?
Water engineers and managers say that's because there's a legal requirement when the lake reaches what they call a compromise elevation of 4,489 feet, something set in this agreement that dates back to the 80s.
When it reaches that elevation, the state engineer is obligated to open the gates at Utah Lake to allow flows to release into the Jordan River to prevent flooding.
Blake Bingham, the deputy state engineer with Utah's Division of Water Rights, says the last time this happened was in 2011, a big water year like winter of 2023. But unlike last year, our reservoirs are starting off full.
We don't have a lot of margin for extra snow.
Jim Nelson is a hydrology expert and professor at BYU. He says last year we just hoped rivers held, but this year we have to strategically move water to where there's capacity.
And it puts the water managers in a difficult position because they're trying to estimate when and how much water is coming in.
Do you think this is somewhat of a growing pains issue as well?
Absolutely. More and more development has pushed ourselves closer to these areas, right, that could be stressed in times when we have high water. Yeah, we're growing and learning from that.
The population of shorebirds is declining across the country. Officials in South Carolina hope that creating more artificial beaches could help improve those population numbers. Jenna Harazo has more.
70% of the world's shorebird and seabird populations are on the decline, according to Huntington Beach State Park's interpretive ranger Mike Walker.
These birds are in a great deal of trouble. Most everybody who lives in the Grandstand is familiar with the plight of sea turtles. Everybody's looking out for the sea turtles, keeping the beaches dark, filling in your holes, knocking down your sandcastles, which is all super important. But a lot of people don't realize these shorebirds are in way more trouble than the sea turtles.
Walker says March is shorebird nesting season, and a team of local, state, and federal agencies have come together in an effort to create a protected and undisturbed nesting area for shorebirds and seabirds at Huntington Beach State Park.
The birds absolutely have to have high sand above the tide level to successfully nest. And that had pretty much disappeared by last summer.
He says this is a project that's been years in the making, and they're piggybacking off the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers' current maintenance dredge of the navigations channel between the Murrells Inlet jetties. Walker says the Army Corps' project is about removing sand, but they need a place to put it.
So most of the sand will go to Garden City Beach for beach renourishment, but about 20% of the sand actually came here to Huntington Beach State Park.
He says most of the beach at the state park was washed away during Hurricane Ian and because of more frequently occurring king tides due to climate change. Walker says some shorebirds have flown thousands of miles, and many stop at Huntington Beach State Park when passing through South Carolina. He says nesting and feeding is the difference between life and death for those birds, so in order to protect them, they're installing solar-powered electric fences.
To provide a predator-proof area as best we can. We actually use 2 parallel series of fences to help keep out coyotes, foxes, raccoons, and mink.
Walker says if we don't continue to protect shorebirds, they could disappear altogether.
Not to mention, the ecosystem is like a big house of cards, and if you start plucking those cards out, eventually the whole thing is going to collapse.
Well, we continue our countdown to the solar eclipse across America, now just 2 weeks away. And while it's going to bring some great sky gazing, there is also the potential for some chaos in its path. As David Winter shows us, Ohio's emergency services doled out some eclipse advice to help minimize the risk.
As the shadow of the moon floats its way diagonally across the country on April 8th from Texas to Maine, the western edge of the tri-state will go dark at about 3 p.m. For how long depends on where you are. The shadow is 100 miles wide and will hit Oxford, Hamilton, Middletown, and Dayton, but only for a minute or so. If you want the maximum duration of darkness, which lasts about 4 minutes, you'll want to be in the center of the path, in towns like Richmond, Greenville, Piqua, Troy, and Sydney. That means that for those who do not already live there, Ohio Emergency Management expects you'll be driving there.
We're somewhere in the path of 125,000 to 500,000 additional visitors, and there's 7.2 million Ohioans living inside the path of totality as well.
The potential for galactic gridlock heading up I-75 and onto all the highways that cross it prompted emergency services to urge drivers to prepare.
And include items like paper maps, snacks, drinks, cash, a cell phone charger, blankets, and certainly remember to pack your patience in your vehicle's preparedness kit as well.
You know the why of the warnings if you were part of the mob of humanity that descended on towns like Hopkinsville, Kentucky for the 2017 eclipse. Some people were stuck on the interstate for hours. In the effort to avert that kind of chaos, the Highway Patrol is warning people to get to their viewing destinations early because stopping at the side of the road, especially the interstate, will cause problems.
If you're stopping on the side of the road, we're going to issue citations. If you're pedestrian on the side of the highway, we're going to give you a citation.
And ODOT says it would be a good idea to stick around for a while after the sun reappears.
Once this eclipse is over, a lot of people are going to try to leave right at that moment. So the best thing people can do is maybe take an extra day, take some time so that they're not in the middle of that traffic rush.
And stay with the National Weather Desk as we count down the days until the April 8th eclipse, which is 3 weeks away. We'll have 3 hours of live coverage during the eclipse. We also have much more on the eclipse posted on our YouTube channel. Just search National Weather Desk and be sure to subscribe. Well, as we mentioned, spring does start tomorrow, and that means allergy season for millions of sufferers. In fact, it's been underway for many of us already. Phil Sterling spoke with a health expert to get some tips on how to calm your sinuses during the spring season.
According to ACCU Weather, pollen levels are high, and Kevin Smallman, a nurse practitioner for Novant Health, Go Health Urgent Care, says springtime brings a lot of people with allergies to urgent care.
Approximately 40 to 60% of patients at that time will have a complaint of allergy-related illness.
He says it affects people of all ages and can get better or worse over time as well.
Over time, maybe if you have come in close contact with an allergy and your body has developed a good defense, sometimes that will be a less mediated response, or it can also get worse with time depending on the allergen that you're exposed to.
It's why he recommends those whose allergies don't respond to over-the-counter medications go see a specialist.
That's going to curb that, potential of you having a severe allergic reaction.
He also recommends people protect themselves when outdoors.
For instance, if you're doing yard work, you might want to wear a mask. If you're cutting trees and bushes and things like that, if you're collecting grass clippings, a mask would certainly help from inhaling.
And now time for a short break, but first we take flight over downtown Seattle.
Thanks for joining me. I'm meteorologist Mary Wasson. We're continuing to see some showers and some clouds across the area for the first half of Monday. But all in all, I think we're going to dry things out across most of the state. You can see morning temperatures will be in the 40s, 50s, and 60s across Texas. Also out across Arkansas and Louisiana. You can see early for your Monday, those clouds will start to clear out and temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 60s.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. Very warm temperatures continue. In fact, the Pacific Northwest, while we've got cooling towards the coast, we've got warming just on the east side of the Cascade Range, and that includes Oregon as well and into Northern California. Now, as we talk about what's going on weather-wise, that big ridge of high pressure keeping most of the West dry, but a little increase of some showers from a disturbance, especially around the mountains in New Mexico. That's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Here's a view of Palm Springs and the Salton Sea as seen from Joshua Tree National Park in California. The first two locations are cloaked by blowing dust from the shrinking sea. And crepuscular rays, these alternating beams of light and shadow captured near Beaumont, Texas. Usually most visible around sunrise and sunset when the light is partially blocked, in this case by clouds.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
All right, now let's check to see the weather in cities across the country today. We start in the Great American Ballpark in downtown Cincinnati, where baseball's opening day now is just 10 days away. Today would not be a good day for some baseball, though. It'll be cloudy and cold with a high of just about 38 chilly degrees. Next, we head to Kerrville, Texas, where just 3 weeks from today, there'll be nearly 4.5 minutes of full total eclipse. Today, though, will be a cloudy one with a high in the low 60s. And this bridge crosses the Dan River in Danville, Virginia. The south central Virginia city is looking at a mix of sun and clouds today with highs in the upper 50s. And Green Bay, Wisconsin is our final stop. They're looking at partly cloudy skies and highs only in the 30s. For joining us, I'm meteorologist Brian Vandegraff. Make it a great Monday, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow.